Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Hitman World of Assassinations. We are in Vermont, USA. This is Whittleton Creek. Whittleton Creek is not a real place. Uh, it's more like a caricature of American suburbia, right? So it's like the American suburbs, but like the stereotype of it. So we have, what do we have? We have wide lawns, we have maple trees, we have quiet streets, and polite neighbors. Kind of. Ah, look at this. It's quite pleasant, isn't it? It looks nice. So is the real Vermont like this? Let's find out. Let's go ahead and get into our map. Ah, United States. So Vermont is over here in the northeast. And then if we go to Burlington, Burlington's the biggest city in Vermont. And it's got a number of connected cities too. So what are we looking at? We're looking at somewhere in Burlington. Let's just pick a place, right? Pick a place at random. Oh, there's a bigger building here, huh? Let me like step away from the bigger building. Maybe here. What does this look like? Interesting. Not quite the same as in the game. Seems like it's a little bit older, a little bit more crowded. Maybe we didn't quite pick the right place. And also there's some damage going on. What is that? Flood damage? Maybe it's a bad time to visit. Alright, so we're too close to the center of town, I think. Let's go out a little bit and maybe look for a newer suburb. Let's say here? Let's see what this looks like. Oh yeah, a bit closer. We have trees. We have some houses. We have plenty of lawn. Right, interesting. This is what it looks kind of like in the game, right? Alright. Not bad. Let's go ahead and look at somewhere else. Let's say, what's this? This seems a little too close together. But let's just take a look, right? Might as well look for some variety. Oh yeah, look at that! Hey, these houses look quite a lot like the ones in game. So here the houses are packed a little bit closer together. But otherwise, you know, we have wide lawns, we have trees, quiet streets, almost no cars. Yep, very good. And let's step maybe over here. What is this? You'll notice that it's all the same, right? Have you noticed how it's all the same? Yeah, no, it's... Yep, this is American suburbs. Very good. Okay, the houses are smaller, but otherwise a similar pattern. If we like come over here, maybe? Nope, let's just across the other side of the airport. Oh yeah, no, it's the same thing. Continues to be the... In fact, that looks almost exactly like the houses in the game. Look at that one. Isn't that interesting? It's a newer suburb. You can kind of tell the lawn. The lawn is a little fresher. It doesn't seem as grown in, so this is a newer suburb. Ah, that house really is almost exactly the same as the one in the game. Isn't that funny? Alright, very cool. Very cool. But yeah, no, this is almost exactly the ones in the game. That's crazy. Alright, so alright, we found something. Oh no, don't do that. Alright, let's go back out. Do we need to see any more? In fact, you know what? These look like new developments. Oh, this is just identical houses, aren't they? Hold on, what is this? What's going on here? You know, I feel like the newer the suburb, the more they converge towards. Is it a duplex? Oh, it's two houses joined together, isn't it? So that's a duplex. The more they converge towards the ideal, right? The further in time we progress, the more the suburb just becomes one thing. Like every suburb is just the same thing. Alright, so these are duplexes, that's why they're wider, right? I was thinking, oh, these are just really big houses. No, it's because they're duplexes. What is this? Oh, interesting. Why is that blurred out? Oh, you can request Google blur your house. So that's what's going on there. I mean, they think they need privacy, but actually their house just looks exactly the same as everybody else's. I mean, sure, you've blurred your house, but it's basically just the same, right? It's not like it's any different from from your neighbors. Alright, very cool. I think that's it. I don't think we need to see any more. Or actually, no. Here's what I'll do. I'll get out of Burlington and neighboring areas. I'll just go to a completely different city. Where are we going? Am I lost? I'm not lost, right? Oh, that's a different state. Hold on, I'm going to... oh, here you go. What is this? Manchester, Vermont? Or is it... No, it's... Is that New Hampshire? Anyway, where are we? What is this? Let's pick a random city. Oh, it's a pretty big city, huh? And just go to the suburbs. So don't think that this is like... It's gonna be any different, right? Zoom in there. Holy crap, it's the same thing again. We're in a completely different city. And it's the same thing. Wild, right? Is it crazy? Absolutely crazy. You know, very cool. Very cool. How far can we get? Can we go with this? Just go to a completely different city again? So the point I'm trying to make to you, right, is that... Oh, can we go to Canada? Oh, Quebec City. Let's go to Quebec City. Let's go to... We're not even in the United States. So this idea of the American suburb, it's basically the same thing over and over again. In a lot of different... Look, let's see this. We're not even in the United States anymore. We're on the other side of the border. And it's the same thing! It's the same thing! It's unbelievable! It's the same friggin' thing! Okay. Alright, good. Good. I mean, we're in Vermont. We're in Vermont, but we could be anywhere, right? So what's going on? What is going on? What exactly is the American suburb? Or not even the American suburb, but the American style suburb, right? So there's a number of driving motivations for it. The biggest one, I think, is the desire for a safe, clean neighborhood to raise your children away from any dangers. Right? Like you look at this, there's nothing dangerous here, right? There's no trucks, there's no strange people, by which sometimes white people mean blacks and Hispanics. There's a bit of racism in some places, you know, so like no, you know, riffraff in the neighborhood. That's a bit, maybe it's a bit too real, but that's how some people are, you know. Another big driver for this sort of suburb is car ownership. So widespread car ownership allows you to live far away from everything else. So if you look around, there's no shops, there's no businesses, right? There's no commercial districts. There's not even like a community center or anything. It's just houses, and so you can be like far away from anything that you might think is dangerous because you have a car. You drive your car to your house, and you drive your car to work, and you don't have to like be close to anything except other houses. And also, like, United States is a country with a relatively low population density. And so outside of the cities, there's quite a lot of relatively cheap land if you're willing to travel far enough. And so having enough land means that you can afford like big property lots with a big house and a big garden. And it's affordable as long as you're willing to drive to work, right? So this is the motivation for this kind of suburb. It's just A safe, quiet place to raise your kids is what people think they want. But the problem is that this sort of living has some negative consequences too. And the first one is the long commutes. Because you are living in a residential suburb, and because like everything is so spread out and so far apart, and you have to drive a long way to get to work. And in the bigger cities, this becomes a serious problem because everybody lives like this, and so then you get a lot of traffic every day. Um, this sort of suburb also uses a lot of land for roads, and the streets are mostly empty. Because like what are we talking about? We're talking about streets that are safe for children to play in. So, how are streets safe for children to play in? Is if there's no cars. But if there's no cars, why are there streets? You see what I mean? So you have to live in a very low density way in order for there to be very few cars on the road at any one point. And so then your children are less likely to be run over by cars. In fact, there's so few cars that you're probably not going to be run over. So this is like what people consider to be safe, and it's true. It is safe because there's very few cars. But because like the fact that there are few cars means that there's very little traffic, which means that the roads are mostly empty. And so you're spending a lot of land for roads that have very low usage. So you're kind of wasting land on roads that never get used. And not just land, too, and not just roads as well, because as you spread out further, like all your infrastructure costs more, right? Because if you're living close together, you have, water pipes, electricity cables, sewage pipes, like all your infrastructure is packed close together if you live close together. But if you live further apart, then everything is longer, like your wires are longer, your pipes are longer. And then like the further apart you live, the more it costs to build the infrastructure, right? You see, because it's just longer pipes and longer wires and everything's just longer. And so living in such a low density way increases the cost of infrastructure. And so like it's very expensive in a way that is not obvious. And also like you use more energy as well, just like getting the water out, getting the electricity out, and then just driving these long distances means you're using a lot of energy. And the United States has, I think, the highest, or is among the highest energy use per capita country in the world. The United States uses a lot of energy per person. And one of the big reasons is everything is so spread out, and you just have to travel further. Everything has to travel further, and so you use more energy that way. Um, Another problem with neighborhoods like this is that they are actually incredibly boring, right? They're very safe, but being very safe also means they're very boring. Nothing happens in suburbs like this. Uh, if you're a stay-at-home parent, you face isolation, and like some people get depressed because they lack the social interactions that they would get in a more densely populated area. Like nothing ever happens in the suburbs. And especially and the kids when they grow up, they just want to get out of here. So a lot of American kids, right, as soon as they're old enough, they try to get a driver's license, they try to get a car, and then they drive out of here because they just can't stand the fact that nothing ever happens here. And like children growing up in environments like this, because they're so sheltered and so removed from everything else, there is a risk that they grow up just like naive and ignorant about how the world works because you're so safe in this environment and you don't have to like you never have to meet anyone who's strange or different or unexpected. And so like the you kind of make your kids dumb that way because they're not stimulated intellectually. So there's a lot of negatives, right? Oh, and because there's no shops and because the population is so sparse, there's such a low density, there's very few economic and employment opportunities nearby. So, I mean, if you want to go to work, you have to drive a long way to work. Like, there's no local jobs. And in fact, it's very difficult to run any sort of business or have businesses serve populations like this because everything is so sparsely populated. Because, like, when you run a shop, any sort of shop, the more people who walk past your shop, the more potential customers there are, right? But if everybody's spread out, nobody's walking past your shop. And so it's hard to do business like this. So it actually, like, this sort of residential pattern, it stifles economic activity because of how sparse everything is. It's, yeah, there's a lot of problems with suburbs like this. Um, oh, another problem is that because there are no shops, and because all the libraries and other public facilities are so far away, what happens is if you want to like socialize with people, how do you socialize with people? Like if you're like an urban person, you might just, oh, let's go down to the cafe and grab a cup of coffee, and then we'll have a chat over coffee or something, because there's a shop, right? So if you have someone who's an acquaintance, but you don't like them enough to invite them into your house, you can always go to a cafe and spend time and chat in the cafe. So there's like neutral territory outside the homes. But when you're in a suburb like this, I mean, okay, there's outdoors. You can like go to the local park and talk, but that's kind of weird. There's no one there. You can't buy a coffee from someone. You have to like make your own coffee, take it to the park. It's kind of weird. So there's no neutral space, or there's no public space to interact with people. And so what happens is in the suburbs, often if you want to interact with people, if you want to like spend an afternoon talking to someone, you have to invite them into your home. And so, unless you really like people enough to trust them in your house, then it's kind of awkward to like invite someone you don't really know into your home. You see what I mean? So there's a lot of problems with suburbs like this. And I mean, people have written books and books about stuff like this. Um, I won't go too much into all of that, but just like, I guess the point I'm making is people imagine this is what they want. People imagine, oh, I want a nice, safe, quiet neighborhood to raise my kids and I don't have to worry about anything bad happening to them. And I understand that, right? That's a very human thing to want. Like you want a safe place to raise your kids. But the cost or the price of that safety and that isolation is all these other problems that people don't really think about when they first ask for a suburb like this. But that's all. It's kind of academic, isn't it? All right, let's start the architecture theory or the urban planning theory, and let's take a look around Whittleton Creek, right? I guess the first thing we want to do, we're gonna walk around the street. We can go into some of the houses, but they'll be later. First, let's just like this, the street forms a loop. In fact, let me just show you the map. So we're here, right? I'm just gonna walk around the street, and then after that, we'll go into the public spaces, inside the private spaces. So first, public space, and we have the roads. Oh, look at these beautiful maple trees. This might be a little bit idealistic because maple trees, the leaves are gonna fall off. I mean, maybe we're just at the right time. We have some leaves on the ground, but like maybe a few weeks from now, all the leaves are gonna fall off the trees, and then the entire street's gonna be covered with leaves. And it's gonna be a real pain in the ass, raking the leaves. Okay, first off, we have a bit of a park here, right? And in a suburb like this is about the quality of the public space that you're gonna get. And like nothing happens here. Okay, there's that guy. We'll talk about him later on. But there's like nothing here. And so why would people be here for no reason? Again, like if you're a more urban person, which I would prefer to be, like okay, let's say you go to the library, you're there for a reason, like you're there to borrow books, for example, and then maybe you meet somebody on the way to borrowing books. So you have a reason to be there, but you happen to meet someone. Or like, you're going to grab lunch. So the reason for you to go out is to grab lunch, but on the way there, you see people. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, what are you doing here? What are you doing in the park? What are these people doing? They're just sitting there. Why are you in the park? And remember that every house has their backyard, and the backyard pretty much looks the same as this. So why are you sitting here in the park and not sitting in your own backyard, right? So what I'm saying is the quality of the public spaces in suburbs like this is very low, and there are very few things, very few services that they offer you. And so there's really no reason to go to a public park to interact with people. Because what the public park offers is no different from what your own home already has. Unlike, for example, if you have a shopping center somewhere close by, maybe like a movie theater or something. You see what I mean? Like, there's no reason to go out without driving somewhere much further away. And this is like one of the big problems with suburbs like this. It's just there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And especially like when the kids grow out to become teenagers, they hate this stuff because there's nothing happening, right? Alright, over here we have some sort of politician campaigning, asking for votes.
Have a flyer. Charles Blake III appreciates your support.
If you talk to him, he'll... There's a lot of like jokes about how his platform has no substance and he's just kind of saying whatever the hell you want to hear. We're not gonna get into that detail there, but we will say that he's not actually doing anything to interact with the local people. He's just set up his little stand there, and he's just trying to ask people to vote for him. But he's not doing anything with the people in the community. He's just there. And there's stuff going on in the community, and he's not part of it. He comes in a limousine as well. Isn't that crazy? Right, running down here. We'll look at the houses in more detail later on. So if you look at this, all the houses are the same. There's like a garage, and then there's like a little porch, and then they're all 2 stories with an attic. Right, and then they're all the same. There's like very, very slight variations, but otherwise they're all the same. Look at that. There's slightly different colors, but they're all kind of muted grays and blues and off-whites and browns, and the other one, they're all the same. So, I mean, partly it's a joke, but partly it's how these suburbs really are. So especially like newer suburbs that are built to look like older suburbs, in order to minimize the costs of building the suburb, you would keep the plan of the house similar, and you just mass produce these houses. Because when you mass produce something, they're cheaper, right? And so like the houses are all the same components, and they're all the same shape. So like when you build a house, what do you need? You need the timber frame, and then you need like, you know, the rafters, and then you need to like assemble them all, and then you kind of put the weatherboards on, and you put the roof on. So it's all like in pieces, and you just kind of mass produce all these pieces, bring them on site, assemble them on the site, and there's your house. And if they're all identical houses, then they're a lot cheaper to build because you don't have to change your setup to build different houses. So a lot of like new suburbs, they'll have, I mean, they'll have maybe like 2 or 3 templates, and then every single house would follow that template, and you just paint them different colors. Maybe like their windows will be different shapes. Hold on. Ah, no, those windows are the same shape. So maybe you have like different shaped windows. You definitely have different colors, maybe different color roofing, different color paint on the outside, and maybe like the porch is a little different shape. So you have like minor differences, but actually it's the same building over and over and again. Or maybe the same 2 or 3 buildings over and over again. And they do that to minimize cost, right? And so if you go to a suburb and it seems like everything's the same, sometimes it really is everything is the same. Because, you know, the property developer is trying to make as much money as possible, right? We have something that looks like a construction site, but nothing's actually being constructed if you pay attention. They're not even laying the foundations for anything. Nothing's happening. Alright, very cool. Oh, the creek part of the Whittleton Creek is over here. So Whittleton Creek actually has a creek. Seems like a safety hazard to me that it's just like open and then it's just water. So I said earlier that the desire for suburbia is like a safe place to raise your kids, right? This seems unsafe because kids can drown in there. So I'm not sure about that. It looks nice. It looks nice, but it's one of these things where, like, if you were a parent, would you really live here? Or would you live not by a place where your kids can drown? You know what I mean? We have roadworks, although he's not really doing anything, he's just walking around. It's just kind of like walking over there, he's gonna look in. Let's have a look, and then not actually do any work. uh, Over here, we have another public space. Again, another very low quality public space where nothing happens. There's a statue of a lumberjack. And that's it. A statue of a lumberjack and a couple of seats. Why would you sit here and look at the lumberjack? Like, what are they doing? Why would you do that? Nobody would do that. Like, some of these make a little bit of sense. So that guy's feeding the birds. So, like, I guess like some of these activities make a little bit of sense, but otherwise, like the public space, as I said, there's nothing going on. A couple of garbage people. Again, just standing around doing nothing. Very funny. And then coming around. It's the same house over and over again. Right? Beautiful maple trees. It's just a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing. I don't. There's nothing to say. There really is nothing to say. There's nothing going on. More roadworks. Again, they're just kind of standing around, not doing anything.
Yeah,
Cool.
I can't let you pass. I'm sorry, sir.
And more maple trees. And every street looks the same, except one of them has a creek next to it. But otherwise, all of it looks the same in every direction. Oh, over here we have a muffin stand. So someone has set up a muffin stand and they're selling $2 muffins. I don't think this would be economically viable in a suburb like this, because how many houses are there? Maybe like a dozen houses? Like, let's say you sell a muffin to every single person, which you probably won't, but if you sell it, let's say there's maybe like a dozen houses and maybe like 3 people in each one. 36 people. The muffins are $2 each, so you sell a muffin to each person, you make $72. $72 is nothing, right? So this is what I mean when I say there's not enough people to support any sort of business nearby.
Odd.
Like, you need a much better population density to make enough money to support the amount of money you need to pay a person to do this work for a day, right? So the low population density means that businesses are not really viable. And that's why the neighborhood is so safe, because it's impossible for anyone to do anything here in a way that is economically viable. So the cost of safety, the cost of having like a safe, quiet place to raise your kids, is like, it is an economic desert, right? There's no way to run a business out here. And in fact, one of the problems with suburbs, in the United States specifically, is that even supermarkets can't really support the business of running a supermarket. And supermarkets don't rely on local, like they're big enough and they sell enough stuff that they expect people to drive to the supermarket to buy things. But even supermarkets will find that they just can't sell enough products to support the business, and so supermarkets would close down, and you leave suburbs that have no way to buy food. Because like Jesus, so like the population density is so low, and they're so unable to support any sort of business that not even supermarkets can survive. And so then you're just left with suburbs where you have to drive a really really long way just to buy food. And so it's actually not viable as a residential area. If you can't get food, how do you live there, right? So like when suburbs don't work out, and some of them don't work out, it's because of that. And yeah, I don't know. It's like living in such a low density way, like it seems like a good idea to you individually, but the wider implications of it is that nothing works. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Infrastructure is expensive, transport is expensive, commute times are long, and you can't get to any businesses because the businesses can't support themselves. And that's suburbia. Alright, so let's go into the houses and see what we can find. In the game, because the suburbs are so boring, what the game has done is they've put in little sinister secrets in the houses just to spice things up a little bit. So even though it looks like just a normal suburb, there are hidden secrets inside the houses. So let's try and find out what those are and see if it's enough to make this more interesting. It's not. It's not interesting enough. Alright, so first house. Let's come over here. Private, no access.
Sir, if you want to come through, I'm gonna have to pat you down.
Alright, he's gonna pat me down. This is
This'll
weird.
just take a sec, sir.
Suburbs usually don't pat you down like this.
Okay, let's go, sir. Thank you.
So in this house we have... Oh, look. The furniture is not unpacked. There are security guys. They have pizza at least. And they have surveillance equipment. A toilet here. Nothing too special about the toilet. The kitchen has been turned into a security room. They don't cook here. Okay, so they're just eating cereal and pizza and instant noodles. And they've set up some sort of
Let me know if you see any of the others slacking.
security setup. He's got a gun on his back. Oh, strange. This is not... Oh, he's got a gun. Nothing remarkable in the backyard.
Okay.
Going upstairs. All the furniture is not unpacked. In here we have a dormitory, right? Although there's only 6 beds, I think there's more than 6 guards in here. Oh, there's like exercise areas. Up here we have the bathroom, and there is a laundry by the bathroom as well. Okay, showers. Oh, there's 2 showers. Crazy. 2 showers, 1 toilet. Not sure how the 2 showers would work, because are you gonna shower at the same time as somebody else? It's a little strange. Over here we have a mattress on the ground. And then over here we have a gun room. Right. So a security outfit has taken over this house. They are surveilling the neighborhood. And they're actually providing protection detail for a VIP who lives here. Oh, who lives in a nearby house. So that's what's going on in this house. literally spying on your neighbors. Next door we have a bug infestation, which is being dealt with. This place is being fumigated. We can't go inside the house, but we can run around the outside. Nothing too remarkable to see though. Oh, so like living in a suburb like this, given how many trees there are around here, and given that, is that like a bush, I guess. So because we're so close to nature, there's gonna be bugs. So bug infestations like this, maybe not that uncommon. Just because you're living close to nature, right? Alright, so this fake construction site where no real construction work is actually happening. Right, there's no foundations being laid, there's nothing being dug up. Behind this stuff, actually, look at this. There's a circle of lights on the ground. This is probably a helipad, or like a helicopter landing area, because this is why you have a circle of lights, right? Strange, but okay. A helicopter landing area in this suburb. And then let's go down the other side of the street. So this house is for sale. It's an empty house, but it's kind of good for us because we can take a look around. So all the houses are the same, remember? They all have the same layout. So let's take this opportunity to look at the layout of an empty house. We have space for lounge and dining. I guess the lounge will be here because the TV is there, right? So lounge will be here, maybe dining's there. At the moment there's a piano. And then here we have bathroom. A big one. And behind here we have kitchen. You might put a dining table here. Some people like to dine in or near the kitchen. Over here is the door to the garage. So this makes a lot of sense because if you're like buying your groceries by car, which you have to, you bring your car into the garage and then you bring your groceries directly into the kitchen. So that makes sense. Oh, there's a basement downstairs from here. Nothing much to say. We have a freezer, we have some pipes. Oh, look at that. So it's a timber frame house, right? It's just timber. Nothing too much to say about the construction. Basement is concrete though. We have timber floors. I don't think timber floors actually look like that. Timber floors usually you have like... Well, you wouldn't put the long bits that way. You put the long bits that way because it's a shorter span. So long bits and then bits in the middle and then the flooring above that. So I'm not sure this is correct. I think this is somebody who doesn't really understand how timber construction actually works. The basement doesn't really have anything in it. There's a couple of broken laundry machines, it looks like, in a sink. So I don't know, maybe you should have a laundry here in the basement, but they actually don't. The laundry is actually upstairs in the bathroom. This house has a bit of a bunker back here. We can't get inside. Maybe some sort of safe room down here. From the basement there is a staircase back outside into the backyard. So this is just grass, a couple of trees and more grass. And there's like some children's play areas. So remember when I said like there's nothing in the park? I mean, there were some children's playing things in the park, but then you have the same thing in your backyard, so why would you go to the park? You see what I mean? Like, the park doesn't offer you anything. Lawnmower? Ah, lawnmowers. Lawn. You grow grass, and then you have to cut the grass. And you have to water the lawn. So you like you spend water to grow the grass, and then when the grass is grown, you spend petrol to cut the grass. Lawns. Why? Why lawns? You're just kind of spending resources both ways just to have a patch of grass? But this is what people want, apparently. Okay, let's go upstairs. And we have a bedroom. Or it could be a different room. But let's say a bedroom. Do we need to go near to the attic? The attic is nothing special, right? Let me just go into one of them. The attic looks like this. Rafters and then the roofing. I'm not sure this is correct either, actually, in terms of construction. It's close enough. It's plausible. It's not criticized too much. So attic doesn't really have anything special. Over here we have the laundry and then the bathroom. Only one shower this time, but 2 basins? Why would you have 2 basins? Not sure why. So, I think the bathroom is kind of too big. I think they should have like 2 bathrooms up here. And each one should be smaller. In a real house that would make sense. In the video game though, the spaces need to be big because you have to do gameplay in these spaces. Alright, here we have potentially another bedroom. But it could be a different room, could be a study. And then here we have the master bedroom with a built-in wardrobe. And that's the house. And every single house on this map is exactly the same as this. A very standard basic house. Alright, next door. Next door we have a house and there's a barbecue party going on. Look at that.
Chin up.
Welcome to Wilson's BBQ party. Let's go ahead and go to the BBQ party.
Well, you're making us all feel really safe, sir.
So this is how you do social life in suburbs, right? So remember how I said there's no shops, there's no restaurants, there's no libraries, there's no like public spaces? So what happens is if you want to socialize, you have to do it in your private home. Because I mean, if you were in a more urban setting, you might like hire the restaurant for the night and then have a big party at a restaurant or a bar. Like just go to a bar and say, oh, we're gonna take over the bar for tonight, have a big party tonight. So because there are no shops, no bars, no restaurants, you have to do it in your own home. And in this case, they've really gone out of the way to set up all this stuff just to have a barbecue party. A bunch of people,
Come on, chest out, chin up.
a lot of tables and chairs. I wonder how much this costs though. Like it's a... Here's the thing. It's a lot of work to set up all this stuff. If you were hiring a venue, then you just need to pay and somebody else does the work for you. I guess you could hire like a catering service or something to do this stuff for you, but like who would do that for like a neighborhood party? It seems kind of weird. So what I'm trying to say is a lot of these services that a more urban setting would provide, you don't get in the suburbs, and you have to do it yourself. And it costs more that way, it takes more time that way, and so people do it less often. Anyway, so this household has remarkably well-maintained gardens. It doesn't look like they do it themselves, it looks like they need to hire people to look after this garden. In fact, it doesn't look like they can do that themselves either. Like, that's a lot of work, right? Let's go check out the inside of their house. So it's a furnished version of the same thing. We have some art pieces. Kitchen. Ah, we do have a dining table in the kitchen. Look at that. Do we need to check the garage? There's nothing special about the garage, I don't think. Nope, garage is pretty ordinary. Oh, that's alarming. Is that mode? That is alarming. That. Ah. Out this way. Do we need to check the bathroom? Not really. Nothing special there. Can we check the basement? In the basement is a lot of food. There's a lot of food here. And then here, a lot of alcohol, a lot of beer, oh, water. Oh, these guys are prepping. These guys are prepping for an apocalypse. Look how much water there is. Holy crap. They can live several months out here. And then they have like a wine cellar. Temperature controlled wine cellar. Wow, fancy. Interesting, not sure what it means. Like they have so much water and food. And then we have a lounge. And then maybe another dining table. Some people do this, I'm not really sure why. But they have like a dining table for formal occasions or for like guests. And then they have another dining table for themselves. Not sure why people do that, but I guess like this is a nicer table or something. It's just fancier. I guess. Alright, upstairs. A little chessboard here. Interesting. I'm not sure. It's kind of a bad place for doing anything because it's a corridor, so people walk past all the time. In this bedroom, we have somebody who's into American football. Very, very American. Extremely American. In here we have laundry and bathroom. A shower and a bath. Okay, very good. It's just the same thing over and over again, you guys. I don't know what else to say to you. We have an empty room here. Strange. What is that? What is that? That's kind of weird. That chandelier? Was that like a cat thing? So here we have like meat in a bowl. I think this is like the dog room. I think a dog is kept in this room. We don't see any dogs though. And then the main bedroom looks like this.
You need this room?
DNA pattern
Don't mind me.
rug.
I'll
That's
find somewhere
weird.
else.
Alright, and that's the main bedroom. Really nothing remarkable, is there? It seems kind of boring. I'm telling you, suburbs. It's just not that interesting. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Alright, so next door we have a house that's being renovated. In fact, it looks like it hasn't been occupied for a while. So look at the quality of the weatherboards there, and then look at the quality of the weatherboards there. We need a new coat of paint on the weatherboards, I think. Back here, the backyard is completely overgrown. So it looks like this house has been vacant for at least months, possibly years. We've got some security guys back here though, not sure what they're doing. Right. And then going over to the next street. Oh, keep the donut guy, not the donut guy, keep the muffin guy in mind. And you see that van there? This is also the same muffin company. Look at that. Okay, the next street. This house, notice how on the outside it's the same as all the other ones, right? But wait till we get inside. Or maybe that gives you a clue. Oh, what's going on? Cottagecore! Oh, everything's different, kind of. So we have the floral wallpaper, and then we have this old style curtains on every window, and then we have like a fancy old clock. The furniture is a bit more old-fashioned. Little figurines on the table. Old-fashioned furniture. Isn't this interesting? Oh, like a old-fashioned cabinet here. So the layout of the house is exactly the same, but you use a different wallpaper and a different style of furniture and like different light fittings, and it feels completely different. Isn't that interesting? So this is what suburbia is, right? The idea is like every house is the same, but you have the freedom to decorate it differently and make it feel different. So even though it's actually functionally the same, everything's just the same thing over and over again, you can make your own mark on your little piece of suburbia by choosing the color, the furniture, things like that. And that's suburbia, and people like, maybe they do their gardens differently, right? They have different curtains. Oh, it's so like it's I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's kind of depressing, isn't it? Like, is the kitchen functionally the same kitchen? Like, different furnishings, different color, the cabinets look a little different. Alright, so the muffin business is being run out of here. You see all this stuff? So we have a person cooking these muffins in their own kitchen, and they're distributing it around the neighborhood as a business. Now, even though this is kind of interesting, it's actually oh, the stove is just on. That's dangerous. It actually doesn't make that much sense that this is happening, because a home kitchen like this, you're not gonna be able to output enough muffins to run a serious business, right? You need a bigger oven to make enough muffins to really support a business that has enough scale to make enough money, right? Because if you don't have scale, if you don't have economies of scale, you're just not gonna make enough money to be profitable, right? So it's interesting that this person is selling muffins from their home, but it's probably not practical. And again, this is like the idea of why business is impossible in a low-density suburb like this. It's because you don't have scale, right? Unless you sell the muffins for a lot of money. Garage is unremarkable. Little car there. It's kind of funny how small the car is compared to the size of the garage. So American cars can be huge, right? So American garages are huge, but this person has a small car. And then in the basement we have a bunch of stuff. Interesting. Old doors? I guess they're renovating the house too. Over here though, we have a chemistry lab. Isn't this interesting? So the implication is that the muffins are chemically enhanced. Prescription only medicine. Keep out of reach of children. Alright, so they're chemically enhancing the muffins. Which might explain why the business is able to succeed despite being stuck in the suburbs. Alright, and then back out. The backyard has nothing that interesting. There's a big old shed in the middle. Oh, over here we have an sort of an outdoor living area. Not sure about this though. I mean, like the furniture just outside like this. Look. You know, outdoors. Outdoors has bugs. Outdoors has bird poop. And you just, I don't know. Like, people like the idea. The idea of enjoying the outdoors is nice, but actually being outdoors and being pooped on by birds is not so nice. So I'm not sure about this. And just more lawn. Okay, upstairs. What do we have? Ah, this wallpaper's out of control. We have a bedroom. Okay, nice, right? We have the same laundry, bathroom. No shower on this one. Same thing, slightly different style. We have a study, I guess. And then we have the main bedroom, the master bedroom. The wallpaper is out of control. Alright, and this is another house. It's just the same house, different wallpaper. And next one. Like, despite the best efforts at trying to put in these little sinister secrets into the houses, it's still boring, man. It's just still just the same thing over and over again. Alright, so this is another house. Slightly different furnishings, but the same layout, same dining table, same lounge. Different style of furniture. Bathroom. Oh, so maybe you can see some clues here. So you see like those handles next to the toilet? Here we have the kitchen. Same dining table, same kitchen layout. A different countertop. And then we have the garage. An old style car here. Interesting. And let's get down to the basement. You come into the basement and oh, the flag of the Soviet Union, and then there's like a hidden tunnel down here. Coming back over here, we have, oh, Soviet Union memorabilia. So the story is that the person who lives in this house is a retired KGB agent. That's the backstory, and that's why there's a whole lot of Soviet memorabilia down in the basement, right? There's an old desk, hammer and sickle thing on the desk. Alright. Let's go back outside. And then in the backyard, there's a vegetable garden. Isn't that cool? So the Russians, right? Russians have a dacha culture. Russia, first of all, low population density, a lot of land, not that many people. And they have a culture of dachas. A dacha is like a holiday home out in exurban or rural areas. And they would usually have enough land that the people can grow a decent amount of vegetables. And sometimes people would just like go out there on the weekends, work on their crops, and then they harvest the crops and then they bring the crops back to their city homes and they eat the vegetables. So that's a dacha. So the dacha is holiday home with land to do some amateur farming. And our ex-KGB buddy here, I guess, is doing the old dacha thing here in Whittleton Creek. The dacha thing, it's not trivial because Russia has had difficult times in its history. For example, during the Second World War, right, getting invaded by Nazi Germany. And then more recently, when the Soviet Union collapsed and there was like a big economic collapse and people became very poor for a while. And the fact that people had dachas really saved a lot of people because they could grow food to supplement their unreliable income in difficult times. So it actually is quite like people value dachas in Russia, or value the fact that they have a piece of land out there somewhere that they can grow food on if things go bad. So that's a Russian thing. I mean, not just the Russian thing, of course. A lot of people have vegetable gardens. A lot of Asians actually like having vegetable gardens too. Alright, let's go back in. Oh, there's nothing else to see, right? The same lawnmower, the same lawns. It's all the same. Let's go back upstairs. Take a look around. Upstairs? Oh man, this wallpaper is oppressive. This kind of... Somehow this wallpaper is really oppressive. Maybe it's just the narrow vertical stuff. We have an office here. There's a lot of paperwork. Look at all this stuff. A lot of documents. So he was an intelligence chief. So I guess he's into documents. Into like reports. We have a laundry. And then we have a bath with a bit of a ladder and a seat thing above the bath. So if you haven't figured out already, again the handles on the next to the toilet. So our KGB buddy is elderly, and he's got a number of things to help elderly people bathe and use the toilet. We have a study here, and in here we have the bedroom. And we have medical equipment because his health is failing. He spends a lot of time in bed, so the TV is right in front of the bed. And then we have more medical things over here. So that's his story with a wheelchair. Look at that, a wheelchair. So some furnishings to a walking frame. Some furnishings to show you who the occupant is, but otherwise just the same house over and over again. And then next door is the last house we can get into. We can't get into the main house, but we can get into the basement. How do I want to do this? First of all, let's run around the backyard, I guess. The basement's down there. So backyard is the same thing. Lawn. Some children's play area. More lawn. Barbecue thing, it's the same thing over and over again. Out the other side. Let me get in here. Open the garage door. No car in the garage, a bike though. Ah, alcohol. I guess somebody does live here? We can't get into the house. But we can get into the basement, where we find... Oh! Musical instruments. So I guess they have a band going here. And we have some seating. I guess they do perform for a small audience. And then back in this place, behind the bookshelves, we have the secret tunnel. Remember the secret tunnel to the basement next door? To our KGB buddy over here? Right, so this is the secret tunnel. And inside the tunnel there are weapons. Grenades, we have guns. That I think is a lot of ammunition. That's a lot of ammunition. So they're preparing for a big firefight. Not sure what's going on, but okay. And that's Whittleton Creek. That's the whole thing. Ah, it's so boring. It's incredibly boring. Is it? Yeah, no, we can't get into any of those houses. I mean, they tried to make it interesting, but you can't. You really can't make suburbia interesting because it's not interesting. Inherently, like architecturally, it's boring. Socially, it's boring. Economically, it's dead. And there's really no way to make it work. And even though, like, in the game, what they've done is they've hidden an ex-KGB spy boss in here with a security detail to guard him. And your job is to kill them, right? And to find out what the secrets are. But everything's just so bland. Like, suburbia is so bland, right? Where are we going? Here? Okay, let me just come over here. Oh, okay, let's sum up. Let's sum up. So, that's Whittleton Creek. It's not a real place, but somehow it looks just like a lot of real places. It looks exactly like a lot of real places, even though it's not a real place. It's a caricature of American suburbia. And the crazy part for me is a lot of Americans, and even a lot of people around the world, this is what they want. They want to live in a place like this, even though it's incredibly boring. Like, so the fact that the houses are literally identical, that's a little bit over the top. Usually you won't have the same house in the entire suburb, you would have at least 3 or 4 templates, and not just the same thing over and over again. But that's the joke, right? The joke is, you go to suburbia, every house is the same. Like, that's the joke. And they're making the joke here. In the game, they've put in some sinister secrets in the basements, right? One of them is chemically enhancing the muffins, and one of them is a KGB spy boss. And one of the other houses, they have like a whole security detail with a whole lot of guns and weapons, and but ultimately, even that is it's just not that interesting, right? And in fact, when people like live in a boring place like this, they can become like paranoid, because you know, like the way the human mind works, in the absence of anything dangerous, you start imagining dangers. You know, like when you watch like a horror movie, the best horror movies, they don't show you what the monster is. They kind of like, you kind of hear it. You hear it like running around, or you like see flashes of it, but they don't show you the monster because they know that your imagination is much scarier than the real thing. And when you live in the suburbs, right? Even though you're there because you want to be in a safe place, it's so safe that sometimes people start imagining things going on. Like, because there's nothing here, so there's nothing to occupy their minds, so they start thinking about their neighbors. Sometimes people like start spying on their neighbors and start gossiping about their neighbors because they don't have anything to do. They don't have anything to do, so they start doing stuff like that. And that's like sort of one of the symptoms of too much suburbia, right? It's like it's a kind of, well, I don't know if I should call it a mental illness, but maybe it is mental illness. Or it can be. It can trigger mental illnesses by being how boring it is. Let's put it that way. It's so boring that it might trigger mental illnesses. Like paranoia? Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, a lot of people want this. At the end of the day, a lot of people want this sort of stuff because they want their kids to be safe. And a place where nothing ever happens is actually safe, in a way, right? A place where nobody goes is safe, in a way, right? There's no... Or if there is dangerous people, you can spot them a long way off because they're not familiar, right? And the fact that, again, there's no cars on the road, that's safe because your kid's not gonna get run over. So, people want this, even though it's incredibly boring. And in fact, they want it to be boring because they don't want it to be exciting. Exciting is dangerous, right? Exciting is scary. And if they want excitement and stimulation, they go somewhere else. Like they get in the car and they drive somewhere else, drive somewhere interesting, right? So they live in the boring place and then they drive to the interesting place. The problem is though, you need a car, right? If you don't have a car, then you're just stuck in the boring suburb. So everything hinges on being able to drive somewhere better when you don't want to be at home. And that's the American suburb. Alright. I don't know if I... There's so much to say, but all of it is the same anyway. You can, like, there are books and books and books, but it's just like a lot of books on something very boring. Alright, we still have to assassinate our targets. We have to eliminate Janice and Nolan Cassidy. Right, let's go ahead and find them real quick. Oh.
And that is Nolan
There
Cassidy
they are.
taken care of. Both targets are confirmed killed.
Right, let's get out of here. In the next video, we are going to the Isle of Scale. Isle of Scale is a fictional island, I believe. It might not be, I need to check this. But it's a castle in an island somewhere off the coast of Scotland, apparently. I'll see you there in the next video.